to Biztech's Enterprise Technology Show. Hi, I'm Brian Fernandez, and today we have Twilio Inc. as our guest. Now, Twilio Inc. is a leading cloud communications platform that enables developers to build, scale, and operate real-time communications within software applications. Now, to tell us more about this, we have its boss in Asia, Nicholas Kontopoulos. He is the Vice President of Marketing for Asia Pacific and Japan at Twilio. Now, Nicholas, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for the introduction, and I'm super excited to be here today.
Now, Nicholas, for a start, could you give us a deeper overview of Twilio and your role within the company?
Yeah, I mean, I've got the great privilege, as you said, to be the VP of Marketing in region. I've been with Twilio now just over 2 years and thoroughly enjoyed my time here, mainly because this company is genuinely passionate about customer experience, which is, I've got over 2 decades of experience in operating in the CX side, both on the client side as well as on the technology side. And what really separates Twilio out, in my opinion, is it's, like I said, that sort of laser-like focus on customer experience, but it helps customers build out the channels of communication that it's going to use to engage its customers, but also does a little bit more than that. It actually then uses the insights it's collecting to help brands, develop deeper, richer insights in terms of what those customers are thinking, how they're operating, and ultimately enabling the brand to re-engage those customers or engage those customers in a much more personalized fashion. So think of us really as a customer engagement platform in the way that we operate. So, and again, like I said, fabulous company, 300,000 customers globally, customers like Uber, Airbnb, Shopify, Stripe are sort of some big global brands that you'd be familiar with. And in region, people like Lala Move, Trust Bank are some that just pop to mind. So a real diverse range of industries that we operate across as well. So hopefully that gives your audience some insights in terms of who Twilio is.
Okay, so then, Nicholas, could you break down your product and service suite offering slide and how that impacts companies?
Yeah, so think of, our genesis was creating, we were part of the movement when it came to communications as a platform. So we started out in the SMS space that evolved into IVR, voice. So if you wanted to create a voice engagement experience for your customers, through to then email, what we provided was a platform that enabled developers to quickly embed communication capabilities in their apps and websites. So that's evolved beyond just those sort of channels of communications. We also work with partners like Meta from WhatsApp's perspective to open up all these different channels of communication for brands. What we do, which I think is really relatively unique, like I said, is help you bring those channels together in a more omni-channel strategy, right? So we enable you to orchestrate those channels and bring those channels together in a more, more meaningful way that it removes unnecessary friction in terms of how customers engage with you. So, a lot of brands have struggled to bring those capabilities together, and we've been on a journey in helping them get more value from their channels by integrating them more meaningfully into how they engage with their customers. Yeah.
Nicholas, that's a really important pain point that you're solving, because there are a lot of brands who are traditional brands. They were doing above the line, below the line, a little bit of digital, and then suddenly they had to really go omni-channel. Yeah. And then they were initially working in silos, and really many of them need or have needed a solution to wrap everything together so they really have a full 360 integrated view of their marketing and how they engage with customers.
100%. And look, consumer behaviors are changing all the time. New channels are coming online all the time. So working with a vendor like Twilio that can provide you sort of that platform capability that enables you to bring those channels together and to really think about how you can architect a customer journey and map those channels against that, and remove some of that siloed nature of how we engage customers is really important. But it's also about the data, like how do we collect data through those channels, ingest that data, and use that data to better understand the customer. So one of the acquisitions we made a few years back was Segment, which is a market-leading CDP provider, now known as Twilio Segment. That was a very strategic acquisition because it enables us now to, as I said, ingest that data, understand who Brian is, what is your channel of preference, and try to anticipate maybe what your next best offer is that we should potentially position to you. Or are you calling into a call center and we use the insights we have to anticipate what the potential problem is so we can arm the agent with the insights to have a more meaningful conversation with you. These are the areas that we're operating in every day with customers that are really trying to take their customer engagement to the next level. So yeah, really exciting times. In actual fact, this region, if I look at consumers, I would argue that Asia has some of the most digitally savvy consumers on the planet, right? With smartphones were pretty much the first device a large chunk of the population went to. And their expectations of how those channels work together, or those different channels work together, are increasingly demanding on brands. So yeah, it's a really exciting time to be in the CX space in this region. I'm very passionate about this topic. So I'm sure we'll be able to explore a few other points over the next 20 minutes.
Now, speaking of CX, then and I want to pick up on what you just said in terms of how customers are changing. How is, for example, younger customers like Gen Z and stuff driving major changes in brands' data and marketing strategies?
Yeah, Gen Z are an incredible generation. They're definitely a demanding generation. There is a higher preference for personalization. It is ultimately fundamentally forcing brands to really rethink their marketing go-to-market strategies. So, we produce a report every year called the Customer Engagement Survey, which surveys thousands of folks right across the globe, including in this region. And what we found, millennial consumers, 70% of the millennial consumers want their interactions with a brand to be digital. So that's really important, right? So if you're trying to reach out to the Gen Zs, digital, first strategy is going to be incredibly important. But here's another interesting data point from our research is without personalization, almost seven in 10 Gen Zs and millennial consumers say they will stop using a brand. So that's
frightening.
That's huge. Like if you think about, and this is data that's specific to our region, right? So it's amazing to see that. But if you're a brand also going global, interestingly, so if you're a Southeast Asian brand transacting in North America or Europe, we are seeing a similar pattern in that respect. The percentages might change to some degree, but there is a general sort of consistency in that expectation. So yeah, it's interesting times in that respect if you're trying to reach out. And if you look at that cohort of consumers, they're going to fast become an attractive cohort as they start to move into their early stages of their career and beyond. So yeah.
Now, again, I want to pick up on what you just said, personalization, right? And AI, which has really had a monumental impact on business, particularly in the last 1 year, as really it's come to prime time in terms of ubiquitous use. Although AI, you and I, who've been in technology, we all remember Watson from 20 years ago from IBM. That was really the start of AI. But in terms of AI, what role does that play in personalizing customer engagement, and how have you seen that evolve in the last couple of years?
Well, if I go to our State of Customer Engagement report, again, interestingly, many businesses around the world would agree that we are on the cusp of a real AI-led customer engagement transformation, right? Over 70% of brands globally, and this is globally, agreed that AI adoption will fundamentally change personalization and marketing strategies. In actual fact, what I'm arguing and what I'm pushing customers to think is basic level personalization, that's table stakes now. All right. So,
Yes.
Brian, I send you an email and I have your name in the opening, dear Brian, right? That everyone can do. And if you're not doing that, you're already behind the eight ball. What I believe the next frontier is the personalization of the engagement experience. And this is where AI, both in terms of predictive and creative, generative AI, working together, and if harnessed smartly, will enable me to engage you at a much more individual basis using the insights I've collected through my interactions with you, zero party and first party data. And I can talk a little bit more about what those are, but they're important data sets for businesses to understand, and using those data sets in a way that enables me to get a richer insight in terms of who you are, what it is you're looking for, what is the problem you might be trying to solve, or is there something you've been thinking about buying, and helping offer that up to you at the right time through the right channel. So this is where I think AI is really opening up new possibilities. And again, I think one of the comments I often got with some of my peers that have been around the blocks for some time, they go, "Oh, AI is not new. What's the fuss? Why?" And they're right. Like AI, the term AI was coined in 1956 and machine learning in 1959. I'm pretty sure I'm on the money there in terms of the dates. So not a new concept, but what's been really interesting, why that you're seeing sort of a real excitement around this is the generative AI and predictive AI capabilities coming together. That is what's, I think, offering up a real transformational opportunity for brands moving forward.
Okay, so Nicholas, yes, where there's opportunities, there are also challenges. What are the challenges then would companies face when it comes to AI-driven personalization? And how would you see them overcoming these hurdles?
I mean, I would break it into two components. First and foremost, it'll be, start with your people and the processes, right? So, that old chestnut, people, process, technology equals business transformation. And we often go straight to technology because we treat it like a diet pill. But, I encourage customers not to think of it that way. They really should start with their people in terms of their customers and prospects. What are they looking for? What are their expectations? But also their employees. Where are they on that journey? What is their understanding of AI? What is the value that it's going to deliver them? How are you going to use AI? There's a lot of fear associated with AI, right? And I think leadership's responsibility is first understanding what is the art of the possible for their businesses and how do they communicate the value of that to their employees, and ultimately enable them to have the space to experiment and try using AI in ways that can drive meaningful change. And I think that's really important part. So really understanding your people and where they are on that journey and enabling them there. And then it's working, the next level is, then looking at, okay, what are those use cases where we can start potentially deploying AI in that broader sort of definition of AI into the business. And then using that as an opportunity then to work back to, okay, so what are the technologies available that we can actually use to help bring that new way of operating together? So it really is about working across sort of those three areas. The brands that do that, I see move quickly and are able to see material value being achieved out of whether it's AI or any digital transformation. Quite honestly, it's not just limited to AI, it's any type of digital transformation, what I just spoke to, but certainly from AI. Now, the other component, so I said sort of the people process is one. The other part is your data. Like the data side is absolutely critical. What Gartner coined a term called dark data, which I absolutely love. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Brian.
I'm not familiar, but yes, I've read it. I'm not very familiar in terms of the execution, but please define it.
Yeah, so it is actually a good one for the audience to think about and maybe consider how they address this in their business. But dark data is basically the data you capture, process, and store in specific business silos, right? But that data in itself, all of that dark data is siloed in and not necessarily connected in a way that helps you unlock more the value that is there, right? So I think that's the other component. And a lot of that is just driven around organizational sort of structures and how they're set up. So the other opportunity of true innovation, I think, is also to look at how do you remove those sort of operational silos and connect that data, shine a light on that data. And that's where, again, Twilio's segment plays a really important role in helping companies do that, right? By working with those different departments, we can then bring that data together in a way that drives a more meaningful experience and engagement experience for customers because they're using the data in a way that creates a utility. Hopefully that makes sense, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for our audience in particular, Nicholas, you've got thousands of customers around the world. Give us some insights into some best practices of some of your customers and how they've just leveraged your solutions into really expanding their businesses dramatically.
Yeah, we've got awesome customers, if I'm honest, and that's one of the things that I got really excited about when I joined Twilio. As I said, but working with the likes of Uber, Airbnb, Shopify. But if I look in region, Lala Move's a great example of a customer that I think's genuinely innovating. I think most of the audience here that would be listening today will be familiar with who they are. Obviously they're a logistics company that created a an Uber-like experience in the logistics space, right? Connecting, consumers that want to ship a product or receive a product with a driver. One of the challenges that they wanted to tackle was, when they're communicating, between drivers and consumers, how can they protect the identity of both those? And that's a role that Twilio is playing. So not only providing the ability to help them move, send those messages, but also delivering a capability that masks the identity of both the driver and the consumer receiving the goods, so that they can have peace of mind that their data is being kept safe. And I think this is really important. Again, when I go back to the previous question, it's also data security, making sure that you are really protecting the data that you have, because customers, ultimately trust will be anchored against your ability to manage that data really effectively. And customer experience, if you think about customer experience, trust is the bedrock of that. So that was something that Lala Move took really seriously, and they're a great customer of ours. Another one that I would quickly touch on would be Trade Me down in New Zealand. Now, that maybe not as well known, but they were effectively an early mover in the marketplace space. Actually, eBay never entered New Zealand because Trade Me had set up a capability that was similar to eBay. So think of them as like an eBay. They also are a company that's been embarking on a journey to look at how they connect buyers and sellers of goods. So if you've got a old laptop you want to sell, or you're a retailer that wants to sell on their platform, how do I connect that seller with a buyer of those goods? So they've used our Twilio segment offering to really look at how they can optimize the targeting of their marketing campaigns, and really move towards, like I said, move to this sort of personalized, individualized engagement capability. They've actually seen some really amazing results, like something like 10% improvement in click-through rates, which when you play it all the way through to revenue, actually is a material benefit. There. So those are two brands that jump out at me as being ones that I think are really good examples of brands that really understand customer experience and how they're using these different channels of communications, or managing the data they're capturing from those customers in a way that enables them to deliver enhanced customer experiences.
Now, Nicholas, then, because you have such a broad lens, what key trends are you foreseeing that CMOs should be watching out for, especially the intersection of AI, customer engagement, and marketing in the next couple of years?
I mean, look, you run the risk of it being, you're talking of it, AI, and people going, oh my God, it's another hype cycle. But I see the evolution of AI, and that's what I want to call it, the evolution of AI, as a mega wave or trend that people can't ignore and need to be understanding, and not just at a brand level, at an individual level, I'm using AI tools every day. I've increased my productivity by at least 30%, Brian. I honestly, I've been talking about this with my peers. If I think about the productivity rates I've seen just in terms of my ability through the use of these different apps, using, Gong to record our calls, to actually then take notes, to then identify next actions that need to take place. And the ability for me then to be able to play that back into the business has increased my productivities, like I said, significantly. So, and that's just one simple example, right? So I definitely think AI is a trend that people need to be keeping an eye on and leaning into for sure. I definitely think the other area of opportunity for businesses is not just the technology side. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, innovating their businesses through reimagining the way they organize their businesses around their customers. Steve Jobs said it really well once. I love this quote, and I saw it again recently, and I was just like thinking what a powerful idea it is. Start with a customer experience and work back to the technology, right? So I really would encourage audiences to really think about that. Start with the customer experience, and as we spoke about earlier, what 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 do I need to change in terms of how I organize my people and empower them to be able to deliver against the brand promise in a consistent way? What are the new ways of operating that we might want to consider in terms of how we organize our business processes to enable that? And what are the technologies that are required or available that can help scale that in a way that is enables us to be consistent in how we deliver that against those experiences, and also monitor and measure the success against that. So that's some areas that I think. So definitely AI is a key area, but also looking at innovation and how you can, internally organize yourselves around tapping into these capabilities in a new way, an exciting way. Yeah.
Nicholas, it's been a great conversation. I've really learned a lot. I think I have to go and learn some more and do some more research as well based on what you've just told us. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
I mean, I'll give a free bit of consulting. There's a formula I love to give. I love to give customers, and it's one that served me really well. And folks that have seen me present may have seen me deliver this at keynotes on stage. OP plus NT equals EOP. OP plus NT equals EOP. Old process plus new technology equals expensive old process, right? So that would be one bit of advice. Like, really think about what we've covered today, and I really have enjoyed discussing this with you. But don't just focus on the technology. Focus on the people, process, and technology, and then use that as your guiding principle. And I think you'll see success come off the back of that. Yeah.
Now, Nicholas, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, matey. Thank you.
We've been speaking to Nicholas Kontopoulos. He's the Vice President of Marketing for Asia Pacific and Japan at Twilio. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to Biztech's Enterprise Technology Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.